G'day everyone. Today we're going to be fitting a small Thermo fan, this one here, to an off-road motorcycle. In our case, it is a Honda CRF450. Now the reason we're doing this is summer is coming in WA here, and we do a lot of sand dune riding and a lot of slow stuff where we're demanding a lot from the motorbike. And I feel like it's going to get a little bit hot without that airflow going through the radiator. We're traveling slow, and I think a small fan like this to draw a bit more air through the radiator is going to be beneficial. From factory, they didn't come out with one. A lot of motorbikes do and have. So we're going to fit this one that we've bought here. It's a moto fan, and we're going to see how it goes. Okay, here's the kit we've got that we're going to use. Of course, we've got the fan. We have a plug here to the wiring harness, a temperature sensor, which of course is going to turn the fan on if it gets to 85 degrees in this case. We have a fuse here, and we have the positive and negative that's going to the battery. Now this is the battery from the motorbike. We have a switch here that turns it on and off, so you can have the fan off or permanently on. I do feel like if I leave that on, it's going to draw from the battery. There is a little LED light on there when I store the motorbike, so I'm going to change that for the switch that I have on the dash. What we'll do, I'll wire this up, and we will warm up the sensor and make sure it all works and we're happy with how it works. And then we'll go ahead and fit it. Okay, I've just temporarily put the wires onto the battery from the motorbike here. I've got the switch here. You notice I've taken the black wire off, and the black wire just turns the LED on and tells us that it's on. I'm not actually going to use it. I was just testing that to see what this wire did, and that is just to earth that LED so it comes on. So we've removed that. I've got the probe here. We're just going to warm it up. We'll keep our distance here. We'll just get it a little bit warm, and hopefully the fan should come on. There you go. So the fan's on. Obviously, we got 85 degrees. Obviously, we've reached that temperature. We'll just use the fan to cool it down. As this drops below 85 degrees, the fan should turn off. There we go. So we've dropped below 85 degrees. Cool. I'm happy that all works. I'm going to wire this switch up to my switch. Like I said, obviously we can keep all three of them on if we're going to use this switch. I'll wire this up to the battery. We've got a fuse there, and I'll put the battery back in the motorcycle. And this probe's going to sit inside the radiator. Okay, well, here is the radiator in question. There's one on either side of the motorbike. We can put this on any side we like. The other radiator does have a hose traveling down and around it, which would kind of get in the way. So I'm going to mount it on this side, and I'm going to pick up on one of these mounts. There's three of them, and they don't really do anything currently on the motorbike. So I'm going to try and pick up on probably that one there. We'll mount it something like this, maybe the wiring harness facing inwards. And I'll bolt to that bracket there. And we're going to have to go through the radiator with the factory mounting that comes with the fan, with the cable tied through the radiator. And then we're going to put the probe somewhere up here. And I can put the shrouds back on, and we'll run the wiring harness down through the chassis to the battery, and the other part of the wiring harness up to my switch that I've got on the dash already. So we'll mount this first. We'll get it happy where we want it to be, and then we'll do the wiring. The original idea was to have the sensor at the top to read the hottest coolant coming out of the engine in the radiator to turn the fan on at the earliest it can. But the whole point of the fan is to move air over the radiator when the radiator isn't working efficiently. Either we're stationary, we don't have any airflow of the radiator, or there's a blockage, or we're working the bike very hard. Therefore, the sensor's actually going to go at the bottom, in the bottom tank. We want to know if the bottom tank is 85 degrees or more, and that's going to switch the fan on to draw the air over the radiator. It doesn't really matter how hot the coolant is in the top tank, as long as the radiator is doing its job and the bottom tank has coolant that is less than 85 degrees. Any more than 85 degrees, it turns the fan on, and we start to see that efficiency across the radiator again. So therefore, the sensor is going at the bottom tank for controlling the fan when we need it to, not when we have hot coolant in the top. That doesn't matter. It only matters if we have hot coolant going into the water pump. Then we have a problem, and we want to drive more air through the radiator. Sensor goes in the bottom, therefore the fan isn't driving all the time, only when we need it to. Okay, well that's mounted there on this side. It's pretty solid. The radiator's a bit loose because it's got no guard holding it. I put it in the center. It's tight with a locking nut. Now we've got the two mounts here. We're going to go through this part of the fan here, through this hole, and then through the radiator and loop back. Now I'm actually going to go through the guard on the other side rather than the tubes that we have coolant flowing through. So if we've got any issues, I'm just going around the edge. It doesn't really make any difference at all. I think that's the best way to go for this particular one. So that's what I'll do. I'll loop around the edge on the other side, and therefore I'm not touching anything to do with the actual cooling system of this radiator. Then we'll run the wires up through out of the fuel tank here, and we shall power it up. Okay, so power here is going to go to the battery, which will be there. I've gone through here, and we're going to have all of this is actually going to go to that side under the tank, to the fan side, and this is going to go up to my switch, which is at the dash. Okay, I've just temporarily wired that up to the battery. I fitted the battery. This will all go into the plastics later. This is the original harness, and I've added a harness here because it wasn't long enough to go all the way up to the switch. One of these will go to the fan, that one, and one will go to the battery. That one there must go to the battery because it's live, so we're going to plug that one into the live side of my switch, and the other side will go to the earth side of the switch and go to the fan. It only matters because my switch is doing more than one function, so I don't want to power up something on the wrong side of the switch. So that's power there. Okay, so this switch here now turns the dash on, and it should also turn on that fan. So let's leave it on and we'll warm up the probe and see if the fan works. Okay, that's all done. We've got all this harness away from the exhaust and away from anything it's going to rub on, especially away from the radiator as well. I'm just going to warm up this sensor here, and we're going to make sure that the fan operates. And first, I'm just going to turn it on the dash. That's all on. We're just going to warm it up and let's see if the fan still works and everything is happy. Okay, there goes the fan. It's doing its thing, drawing a lot of air. That's very good, everything works. We'll put the guard back on here and all the guards. Should be good. Figured it was wise to put everything together and make sure the fan is still working, and it is. It is very close. All this bracing does get very close to the fan, but it doesn't affect its operation. I can feel the wind coming off it, so it works pretty good, even with all the guarding back on the bike. Okay, well that's it. It fitted pretty well. I'm happy that I've got a mounting point here. The guards will go back over and cover it up. You won't even know it's there. I know it works very well. I'm happy that it's on the switch, so I can just turn it off and isolate the whole thing when I'm not using the bike. It means I can leave the battery in there. As soon as the dash is on, the fan is on as well. And of course, I'm not going to ride without the dash on, so the fan will always be active if we need it. Other than that, thank you very much for watching.